Do you mind being on the recording? Like if it goes out, if I end up selling it, you guys are okay? Okay, awesome. Well, welcome. Hi, Tara. Welcome in, my love. Can I get your verbal confirmation that you're okay to be on video just in case?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. So let me put this like that. Actually, no, I want to see your beautiful faces. Awesome sauce. Okay, well, Tiara, I know you're new to me, so hi. My name is Jordy, and I am a spiritual life coach, business mentor. Human design is one of my passions, and I do Reiki and all the other fun things. But notice that there's not many people in the room. Reflectors are so freaking special. You guys are less than 1% of the world. Less than 1% is still a lot of people. When you quantify it, 3 out of, I don't know, 60 plus people that bought the masterclasses, right? Not very many. Now, for me, I have a really sweet spot for reflectors, just because you are completely open. Like you guys need the support, you need the grounding, you need someone to help you out, right? So I made a little presentation and we're just going to talk through it. And then at the end, I'm going to open up for questions just to go deeper into like the things that you might struggle with or if you need support. So let's get to it. You guys are literally a mirror. I know it's crazy, but literally that is your purpose in life, is to mirror and reflect and basically show the health of a community. So if you think of a mirror, people walk by the mirror all the time and we look and we're like, oh, I'm so pretty, I love my hair. But we don't really notice the mirror all the time. So my reflectors really, really struggle. You guys have a lot of openness, and anywhere that you are open on your chart, you are literally taking energy in 24/7 and feeling it times 10. What that means is that you guys amplify everything, and day to day, you are literally different people, right? So reflectors look like this. You guys are,
just so you know, we can't see any presentation. I can see you.
well, boo. Okay, well, let's start over. Apologies. I make sure you guys are following. Thank you for letting me know. I love that you were playing along. Like, yeah, we see it. We're good. Okay. Can you guys see my slides now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so reflectors. We were talking about the mirror. I put a really cute picture in there to kind of simply like show who you are. And then basically you guys are the mirror. You're here to amplify the community, and you guys are less than 1% of the world. So very rare, very special. Now, the reason why you are rare is because all 9 of your centers are white. You might have a gate or a little bit of color somewhere, you have a profile, but your entire body graph is white as far as like the shapes. So very rare, very unique. Now, let me tell you about you guys, because if you think about less than 1% of the world, the word is unique, special, very, very sensitive. Anywhere that you are open in human design, open meaning there is no color, right? Because if you could see my chart, I'm literally colored everywhere except for one of them, right? So me, you feel me, I'm probably overwhelming for some of you, right? So these centers being open essentially mean that you are constantly taking energy from the people around you and you amplify it times 10, and then you mirror it back to us. What that means is that day to day, you are basically a different person. So if you've never been told, you probably have a day that you're outgoing, and you have a day where you're more introverted. Then you have a day when you don't want to be around people because you're overwhelmed. Maybe you have social anxiety. Maybe you find that, oh no, I might be having mental problems. You don't. You're just around the wrong people. You're just taking on a lot of energy, and it's just learning how to work with what you got. Right? So being special means that you also need special treatment. You are not built like everybody else, and that's basically what we're going to talk through today. So being a reflector, although it's really special, the original design of a reflector was to kind of see the, to assess the health of a community. So if you can imagine a tribe back in the day, let's say that there were 10 people, right? There was one reflector. And the way that we would know that that tribe was thriving is the reflector healthy. Do they feel good? So if the world is ending, I'm going to check on you guys first. I'm going to be like, are y'all okay? Right? Because you are taking it in at all times. So the white spaces, I'm going to go through what each of them mean, but I just want to tell you, this is kind of what it would look like. Granted, you're going to have some color like gates and stuff, but we'll get into that. So the purpose, to assess the health of an environment. They literally dropped one of you in just to see how are people doing. So your aura or your energy type is called sampling and reflective. So if you think about sampling, you guys are the type of people that whether you know it or not, you are constantly sampling people's energy. You're like a thermometer, like a barometer in the room that literally when somebody's upset, you're the first one to feel it. When someone's in a good mood, you literally beam just by looking at them because you are so attuned to the energy of a room that you're the first one to notice. Now, the way that a reflector is designed is you're constantly sampling whether you want to or not. Because these are basically open rooms. And the moment someone's in your energy, like me right now, you'll feel all of me. And it's like, okay, I either love Jordy or, oh my God, I don't want to spend any time with her, right? So in a room full of people, the overwhelm is real, right? So your gift, if you will, is the sampling. Because you're able to really try a little bit of everyone, you get to kind of sit with that information and reflect. And then ask, is this something worth sharing? And I'll give you the example of the tribe. Like if the community is dying and everybody is sick and you're not feeling good, don't you think you want to tell the chief, like, hey, we're not doing so well? Versus if the community is thriving and healthy and people are gaining a ton of weight, maybe that's like, hey, chief, we're good, right? So your job, sampling and reflecting. Now, the thing for a reflector is deciding, is this information something that I should share? Or is this something that I should keep to myself? Just because you know doesn't mean people need to know, right? Just because you feel it doesn't mean you have to share it. So the task becomes day to day, how do you feel? Where are you at? Checking in with your body, with yourself, right? Because if you are a mirror, what are you mirroring? If you are bitter, depressed, pulling your hair out, tired, burned out, you are in the wrong environment. You are with the wrong people. So people and places for you guys, it's like the most important thing. You have to protect your space because whether you want to or not, these are open doors and people can come in and out as they please. So we want to keep them clean. The places where you guys feel most like yourself is like nature. Like putting your feet in water, walking in grass, sitting alone. Being alone for you is a gift. So if you resist it, it actually hurts you because yes, your partner is great. If you have babies, they're fantastic. Your family is important. But the only way for you to remember what you feel like and like recharge is to have alone time. And I mean energetically alone, like having distance between you and someone. So if you're married or dating, sometimes you're going to want to sleep alone, especially on the nights where you're really in your head or really stressed or do you feel like you have ADD. That's a sign that you have a lot of energy and you just need to decompress. So that's okay to do, right? Now, how do you know that you're a reflector? Like I said, completely white. So every time I see one, you should have seen when I saw Nishta, she was my little unicorn and I had to triple check. I was like, no way. And I had another client, Brittany, who she's going to be watching this recording. And I pulled her chart 3 times. I just couldn't believe it. Now, at this point, I've met so many reflectors that I was like, okay, that 1% is actually bigger than I thought, but still very, very special. Now, again, being special is good. However, your strategy, the way to get into alignment being things feel good, you are happy, life is flowing, you have to wait 28 days. I know, waiting sucks, right? Lunar cycle. So if you're not familiar with the cycles of the moon, you might want to read about them. You might want to learn because your energy flows very similar to that pattern. Sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's full, sometimes it's half, sometimes it looks like a toenail, sometimes it looks like a block of cheese. Either way, you change every single day. Now, how do we track the moon? Every 28 days, we can expect there's going to be a full month. Every 28 days, we can expect if it was a new moon, it's going to be a new moon. So for you, keeping track of your days, like a journal or voice notes of like, how are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, right? For example, making a decision, like moving to a new city. You don't want to make the decision in the moment because you're going to wake up the next day and be like, this was the biggest mistake of my life. So anything big, money, relationship, location, a job, anything big that is like life altering, you want to give yourself at least a month. And I know this is not the way that, society taught you, But in order to thrive, oh, can you hear me, Amy? Are we good?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Oh, absolutely. Drop it in the chat, my love. We're going to open Q&A. I just want to get through the presentation for the sake of the recording, and then we'll go through all of the questions, okay? Awesome. So the lunar cycle, very important, ladies, 28 days. So I recommend at least a month. Now, what that looks like is every day you're just taking notes. Today, I'm thinking, okay, I want to move I live in Florida. So from Florida to New York. Yeah, today that sounds amazing. I want to be around people. I want to be around bars. Then I wake up the next day and I was like, well, I hear the New Yorkers are not so nice. And then on Wednesday, you wake up and it's like, the weather's kind of crappy up there in the winter. Over a period of 30 days, you're going to look back at your journal and you're going to realize that if it's a yes or if it's a no. But if you do it in a week or 3 days, or let me go get married and elope in Vegas, you are going to regret it. So the only spell safe for you is to wait 28 days. Now, for the places where you have to make a quick decision, like dinner, or I don't know, what background do I want to use today on my phone or whatever, right? There's a strategy called environmental. What this looks like is 4 to 5 friends that you trust, and you need to talk. The best gift you can give a reflector is to listen to them. You're not asking for permission. You're not asking for opinion. You just need to talk it out. What happens when you talk it out is you start to listen. When I was talking to Amy, I felt really excited. And then on Tuesday, I talked to Nishta and I was like, I'm not so sure that this is a good idea. And then by Friday, I met with Tara and I was like, wait, I don't want to move. So you hear yourself and you're like, it's a yes or a no. Now for quick things, I can just ask you, hey, do you want a burger? Yeah, that sounds fine. Do you want pizza? Yeah, cool, whatever. So for the little things, talk, have a conversation. You're going to realize what you want as you're talking. For the big things, please, please, please sleep on it. Take your time. A month is ideal, especially when you're involving money, housing, relationships, anything like that. Otherwise, regret comes the day after, right? Now, the way to tell if you are aligned or if you're not is, do you feel surprise every day? Meaning things just happen. You meet people, money comes in. Some days are amazing. Some days you're like, well, I want to stay home and nothing happens. But you're always like curious and excited. It's just life is fun. Or do you feel disappointed most of the time? Because remember, all of that openness, when you're feeling it times 10, imagine there's a war going on in your neighborhood. You are going to be the most depressed out of everybody in that place. But if they're celebrating, yay, we won, everybody's back, you're going to be the most excited. So reflectors get a bad rep for being like manic or over the top or like really expressive, or the opposite, they're shut down and like socially awkward. It's because you guys feel so deeply that you don't know how to kind of filter how intense the emotions are, right? So it's about learning to check for these two things. Do most of my days feel like wonder and surprise and exciting? Or do most of my days feel like disappointing and I don't want to get out of bed or do anything? If you're hanging out in this side, ask yourself, am I in the right place? And do I have the right people around me? If either one of those is a no, you are the only type in human design that moving can change your life. Truly. Location and people. That's it. Now, a couple things I want to mention here. You guys are open. So openness means you're taking it all in. You are really freaking good at reading people. So if you meet someone and you don't like them, that's enough. Walk away. You walk into a restaurant and you're like, I don't want to be here, leave, right? You are really, really tuned in, really, really connected. So right people, right place. Otherwise, you're not going to feel true happiness. Like if you've ever been in a bad relationship or had a friend that was really gossipy, you probably can relate to that. Just really pay attention to your senses because you do know better than everybody. The best example is the barometer. A degree drops, you are the first one to feel it. A pin drops, you are the first one to hear it. Even if everybody in the room is like, girl, you're fine, just sit down. If your body is like, no, I need to leave, leave. You know better, right? Another thing here is you only know truth or clarity when you see it reflected on other people. Now, The reason why I wrote it like this is because if you think about the example of the mirror, we walk by every single day. We look at ourselves every single day. How long does it take you to notice that the mirror is dirty? Probably weeks before you're like, oh, that spot's on my face and I'm trying to take a selfie, right? So that is how it works for you. You can't really have clarity unless you're talking, unless you're pushing energy out. And what that looks like is having a conversation with, like, I don't know, a friend or your mom. And as you're hearing them say, well, I don't know if I agree with blah, 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 you're like, but I do. Right? And you realize this is how I feel about that. Or somebody trying to tell you, no, girl, you should take that job. The money's right. The location is right. And you're like, yeah, but I'm not really happy about working there. This is what I really want. So for you, you have to like see someone else and talk to them and kind of use their energy to see yourself. So as a mirror, the only way that you see that you're dirty, hypothetically, is to show them the speck right on their face. Like that's the best analogy I can give you there, right? Now, when you're dating or family or anything, you want to speak. The best gift that you can give a reflector, listening to them. Just uninterrupted, I just want to talk. You are those people. It's okay to ask for time to just be heard. Because what happens for you is that anywhere that you're open, there's an imbalance. When your centers are colored in, you are fixed. Energy is consistent, it always is, and it's not going to change, right? So when it's on, it's really on. It's like mentally fixed. It's a yes or a no, this is what I believe. When it's open, open-minded, flexible thinking, right? So that happens with all of the centers. So with your throat, you either speak too much, like the look at me syndrome, where you're like, and you like annoy the room, or you don't speak enough. You go mute and you're like, oh, I'm not going to say it. It's not worth it. If you have something to say, it needs to be said. So find you some really good friends or a good support network where you can speak openly and where you can be heard. If you don't have that, that should be your main focus. Because remember, for the little things, you don't have to wait a whole month. You just need to talk it out. Okay. Now I talked about the environmental authority. Those are those friends. Let's see what else I want to hit on. Profile. So everybody in human design has a profile, which is 2 numbers. So it could be a combination of the numbers 1 through 6. So what are you guys's? I know Nishta, you are a 1-3, right? Or 1-5. Amy, what are yours, my love? And Tiara, do you know?
I'm 5-1, yes.
Beautiful.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay, it should be on your chart, especially if you pulled it out of my website. It should tell you.
2-4.
2-4. Okay, Tara, my love, I'll give you just a second. It should tell you. It should be like a number dash another number, and it'll be under profile.
I believe it's 4-7. I just don't. But you said it's 1 through 6.
1 through 6, yes.
I don't know where my chart is.
Okay, so here, let me drop a link for you. Because I want to make sure that you know, because I'm going to talk about them. And I want to make sure that if you have questions that we can answer them while you're here.
Thank you
and
so
not
much.
later. So, girl, totally fine. Let me just grab you this link. And then you could pull it. Okay, I just dropped it in the chat for you. And I'll give you a few seconds to pull that. Because I'm going to talk about them and I want to make sure it's clicking and that if the questions are needed, that we do address them. Okay, ladies, so I will go ahead and start while she's looking, just because I want to honor your time. But let's start with line number 1. So Nishta, I know this is you. Amy, you said you were 2-4, right?
2-4. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I should write that down so I don't forget. So 2-4 and a 1-3. Beautiful. Okay, so if you are a line 1, it's called the investigator.
Jody, it's 1-5. Like it says 5. Yeah.
1. I keep doing a 3. It's like I think you're a 3. Okay, so we have a 1, 2, 5, and 6. So everything but a 3. Got it. Okay. So I'll do it for the recording either way, but I just want you to know what you are because this is important. For a reflector, your profile is the truest part of who you are because it's fixed, right? In your chart, the only places you have consistency are if you happen to have a gate and then your profile. So this is very, very, very important, okay? So starting with number 1, so Nishta, this will go for you. Number 1 is called the investigator. I happen to be a line 1 myself, so somebody who is very curious-minded, you are at the foundation. If you can picture like a 2-level home, you're at the very base of the first floor. You want ground level, you need to understand, you need to see the foundation of things. So that makes you very curious, very knowledgeable, you go really deep, you don't half-ass anything, you want to understand, right? Now the downside is sometimes you don't move if you don't understand, and in business, you have to move, even when you don't know. And when you go that deep, when you study that much, what happens is you end up becoming the expert. You end up becoming the teacher, so you should share as you're learning, okay? Now my line 2s, which is gonna be, let's see. This is you, Amy, correct? Beautiful. So line 2s is called the hermit. So the hermit in the house, if you can imagine on that first floor, they are behind the window inside the house. What that means is that you like to hide, like a hermit. You're like, I'm done with people, right? Hi, Sydney, welcome in. So you want to hide because people tend to overwhelm. The thing that happens is that when you are a line 2, you are naturally gifted at something. And what that means is that people take advantage of your gift. Let's say that you're really creative or a really gifted speaker, they use you, right? So them using your energy makes you want to hide and be like, I'm done with people, but your gift is so good and so needed that we have to pull you out of the house so that you will show up, because we need you to show up to do what you came to do, right? So that's the line 2. So downside, hermit tendencies, you want to hide. Upside, we're going to pull you out. You got stuff to do and we need you, right? So now line 3, which I know neither of you is, but for the recording, a line 3, I'm line 3, so it's the hot mess express. We are the trial and error people. It's the martyr. So if it can go wrong, it will, right? Like we learn through experiencing. We're the type of people that you can tell me about fire or I can touch it. When I touch it, then I understand it. So the line 3s make it okay for people to make mistakes and figure it out as we go. So that's their gift. The downside is that they can get into the woe me, life is so hard, it never works out, because we are the martyr. It is very easy to look at the downside instead of the upside. Learning through experience versus everything goes wrong, right? Line 4, which is Tiara. Beautiful. So line 4, oh, and Amy. Oh, I can't hear you, my love.
Sorry, it's 2/4, is that?
Yes, you're a 2/4. So you and Tiara both share the line 4. Beautiful. So let me tell you about this one. So if we're going by the analogy of the house, you guys are on the 2nd floor, but you are like on the balcony. So you can see inside and you can see outside. What that means is that you connect with people in general. Doesn't matter where they are. You are a gifted matchmaker. You are a people person, right? Even if you're introverted, you can see their strengths, you can see their weaknesses, you can see how they make sense together. And it that's your gift, is people. So it's called the opportunist because the opportunities in your life literally come from your network, from your connections. So I go back to people and places being important. For a line 4, people are everything. So if there's a bad apple or someone who's toxic or dragging you down, think about the life that you want. They're not the person that's going to bring you that opportunity, right? So keeping your circle clean is very important. And the upside is, when it comes to business, people are your thing. Just figure out who you want to target and allow your network to expand in the direction that you want it to go, right? Now my line 5s, which is Nishta, right? Line 5s are heretic is the word. So line 5, if you can picture the house again, 2nd floor behind the window. However, this window is like tinted. It's like rose colored. So a line 5, people look up to you. So anybody on the 2nd floor, you have the height, right? For the line 4s, people, you can see them from above, from the side, you get people. Line 5, you see people down, but they don't see you. they look up and they see what they want to see. Remember, it's like rose colored. We see what we want to see. So perception is reality. The good thing is that you're a visionary leader. You have a higher perspective. You are very wise. You can see the plan of how it should play out and like where to go, right? The downside, because people don't see you, they tend to project a savior. They think that you can fix them. They think that you can save them. And when you let them down, really, they let themselves down. They come after your reputation. So as a line 5 in business, say what you mean what you say. Make sure your contracts have addendums, that you have that PS at the bottom of your email, because misunderstandings happen a lot. And it's not anything that you do. You just keep your cards really close to your chest. Okay. Now my line 6s, oh, Sydney, perfection. Now my line 6s, which is you, Tiara. Line 6 is a fun one because it's a 3-part life. So 3-part life is based on astrology, but from 1 to 30, you are the hot mess express. If it can go wrong, it will. You are going to learn through experience. It's going to, like, I'll give you an example, marrying your trauma, or cutting off all your hair, or getting a tattoo on your face. Like from 1 to 30, that's the time that you're going to want to experiment and play around, right? Now, from 30 to 50, what happens is that you're still kind of learning, you're still kind of making mistakes, but you kind of start paying attention of like, what is me and what is not me? What feels good and what doesn't feel good? And you start to kind of break down. So think of like a butterfly. You've been the little worm or caterpillar that's like crawling on the floor. And when you hit about 30, it's called your Saturn return if you speak astrology, you basically kind of get rerouted and you start to kind of get into that chrysalis and break down. So the parts of you that are not you start to fall away, and the parts of you that are you start to get more prominent, more pronounced, right? You're like, okay, I like routine. I enjoy exercising. I like eating like this. And by the time that you're 50, Chiron returns. And what happens is that you embody a role model. So the line 6 is called the role model. So think of like the beautiful butterfly. That's where you're headed. The best years for you come later in life. Now, depending on where you are on that spectrum, I can give you advice. So if you're between like 1 and 30, it's okay. It's going to get better. You're not always going to continue to make mistakes. Embrace the learning. Experience is good. This is what makes you wise, right? If you're between like 31 to 50, I would say start moving towards the things that feel good so that you can get there faster. What I mean by that is if you're finding yourself really disappointed, really frustrated, and you're just trying to make a square peg fit into the round thing, is not going to work, right? The sooner you get there, the better. Now, if you're over 50, which girl, you don't look it, life, it's just like allow yourself to be you. Stop trying to be who you think you need to be. And this is more for the recording, right? Allow yourself to be who you think. Stop being who you think you need to be and allow yourself to be who you really are, so that you can just embody the role model. Because whether or not you know it, Tiara, you demand attention. People look up to you. You are very wise and they see you. And it doesn't matter at what level of your journey you are, people see you, and that's a gift in business and in life. Just, you want the right attention, right? So the profiles for reflectors, most important part, because this is where you are the truest version of you, okay? Now, the gates are another area where you experience consistency, but that depends on your chart. So if you really want to go deep into the gates, like let's say you have one right here, which is just like the little circle with a line, right? Or if you have one like here, they show up different, right? So for example, if you have the one that's right here, that's number 11, and it comes down with a line red or black, essentially what that means is you're the idea machine. You have ideas for days, which tells me you're deeply creative. But for that, you probably want a reading, because then I can walk you through what everything means. And I can explain, okay, so this gate looks like this, because those are the only places where you have consistency. So as a reflector, I highly, highly, highly recommend you get a reading, but it doesn't have to be from me. It has to feel right to you. Okay, I think Nishta, you've had one, so you could probably speak on that, but it really helps. It gives you clarity. Now, oops, you're okay? All right, awesome. Let me get some water. I feel like I'm out of breath. 1 second. Okay. It's like weird to be in a room full of mirrors. I feel like very expanded. So thank you, Sydney, for grounding me. Okay, so let's talk about these centers and what they mean. Okay, because I feel like for you guys it's really important to understand how this openness affects you, right? Or like how it shows up. Most people, like myself, are very colored in, or they have definition in some of these places. Like maybe this one is yellow, or this one is brown, or this one is red. You guys don't have any, right? So when they're defined, I want you to think fixed. And when they are open like this, I want you to think not consistent, open and flexible, interchangeable. So I'm going to tell you what they are about, and then I'm going to tell you how they show up for you. So this is the head, and in human design, the head is broken up into two. The top right here is about understanding, it's about inspiration, it's about mental pressure. So it's a pressure center, because if you think about the head, usually the thought is born, and that's what forces you to start taking action. You're like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I paint my room. And then the answer comes up, oh, it will look amazing, it's going to be great. And then you start talking about it. Oh my God, I'm going to paint my room. And then you get excited, and it becomes your mission, and you get the will, and you're like, let's go. And then you get the energy, and you paint it, and then you see how you feel about it. And then you get scared, oh my God, is it too blue? And then it's done. So anything like the head or down here, the root, pressure. Everything is just wanting to get you started to move towards something. The head does it through mental understanding, like thinking. This is where questions are born. Down here, this is the root. This is more stress or like getting started. So now let me walk you through it. Hopefully I'm not overwhelming you. The head is all about thought, inspiration, ideas. So when it's open, things pop in and they pop out. If you want to remember something, write it down, because there's no consistency. Someone like me who has a defined head, I get in a question of like, oh, what happens if I do this? Or how could I do that? Or why do people die? And the answer comes out automatically. Versus someone like you, it pops in like, oh, I should, I don't know, meditate or whatever. And then you forget about it. Or you walk into a room and you're like, why did I walk in here for? Or you're like, oh, I'm going to do a presentation on something that I know really well. And then the camera comes on and you're like, oh crap, I don't remember, right? So with an open head, yes, you have a lot of pressure and you think you're going to come up with answers. Stop trying. You are not going to have the answer. You have a presentation, take notes, make a list, make slides, be prepared, because you don't have the consistency to rely on your head when you need it every single time. Does that make sense? Thumbs up? Awesome. Okay. So now that you get the gist of it, I'm going to move a little quicker. So in human design, this is the part of the brain where the question is born. And then this is the part of the brain where the answer is born. So this is like logic, data, understanding, information is very much about concepts and theory and like the processor of the brain. So here, yes, what, how, why. Here is more because. So ideas, opinions, thoughts, etc. So depending on what gates you have, that'll tell me where you shine. Again, like if you have gate number 11 right here, you have a lot of ideas. But if you have gate 17 on this side, you have a lot of opinions and you like to debate. It's different for everyone, okay? So the thing with the Ashna is that anywhere that you're open, you're like, why am I not like everybody else? Right? Like here's Jordy, and Jordy can just think of something and get started. And for me, I had this idea, and now that I walked into the room, I don't remember. So in the Ashna, what happens here is you get obsessed with trying to know why. You're trying to understand, like, why don't I get it? Why not me? What, like you get really frustrated over something that you are never going to figure out. You are not going to get the answer when you want it. You are going to get it when you need it. When you need it, it's going to drop in. But when you want it, you could stay up all night. You are not going to figure it out. Does that make sense? Awesome. So then this is the throat. And in human design, the throat is all about manifestation, like speak it into existence, right? It's your voice, communication, creative expression, manifestation. So with the throat being open, you are not the speaker. Because like me, I can talk about human design right now and be like, boom, 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 quick, right? For you, you are the microphone. You get to amplify someone else's voice. Oprah, open throat. What she does, she talks about a book and the book goes viral, right? But they're not her words. She's like, wow, I read your book, Gary Zukav, The Seed of the Soul was so amazing. Tell me more. And he's like, yeah, I did this and that. She goes, oh, this was my favorite quote. When I read this quote, it reminded me of my childhood. And it puts it on the map, right? So if you think about quotes or somebody who has the words that you wish you had, amplify their voice. Don't try to come up with content all the time yourself, because you have either too much or too little energy. So either in the head, too much thinking, down here, too much trying to figure it out, in your throat, me, like listen to me, or mute, right? So because you can't rely on it, understand that your job is to amplify a voice, not to get fixated on being heard. Or they don't hear me, why not? Because you're using it wrong, right? So again, I highly encourage a reading for my reflectors the most, because you are so unique. If you understand what you do have, it makes it so much easier to thrive, right? Now the G center right here, this little diamond, this is purpose, identity, direction, love, and like where your higher self lives, or your soul, whatever you call it, right? So this is all about love, direction, and purpose. And because you don't have consistency, you're like, you're never going to be the kid that's like, I was born to be a doctor, and you're going to get there. You don't have a purpose. You don't have direction. You don't have a path. And it sounds like, then what the heck am I supposed to do, right? Live. If you are painting, you're a painter. If you're dancing, you're a dancer. Stop trying to be fixed with like, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's okay to change your mind. When you're around somebody and you're with them, like right now you're with me, right? I'm the coach. I love human design. You are trying me on. And you're like, wow, Jordy feels amazing. Or I don't really like how she feels, right? You get to try me on and be like, do I like being a coach? Wow, I really like how she does this. That doesn't mean that that is you. You're like an actress or a chameleon. You're just trying on the role. Put it down, go be alone, and ask yourself, do I really want to pursue this? That is why you want to take your time and not jump into something. Because sometimes you're jumping into things because it feels good around somebody else whose purpose that is. Right? So here, what happens a lot is the question of, why do people care? Why would they love me? I don't deserve love. Y'all, shut it down. It's not you. It's just an empty room and there's a fly rolling around. Go be alone and it'll go away. Okay? Will center right here. This is the ability to like make a promise and keep it. That is not you. Everything you start, you're not going to finish. Stop saying, yeah, I'm going to run a 5K when you're happy, because maybe the next day you haven't slept and you have a hangover and you don't feel like running. It's okay to say, hey, why don't you just check in with me the morning off to see how I feel? Or, hey, right now it feels like a yes, but you want to just, you know, I do tend to change my mind sometimes, right? So this forces you to become really clear on what you value, because your worth is not, I have to show up every time. It's adding the, how many times did you show up? Do you see what I'm saying? So don't try to quantify and be all the things. Understand that you can't, right? The sacral right here, 70% of the world has sacral, which is life force energy, go, go, go. You do not. I know this sounds like terrible that you're like, I'm not consistent anywhere. Right? It is a gift, because you don't have to feel overwhelmed and exhaustion and stress and overthinking. You can just go be in a river and completely disconnect from all of it, right? So this is all about energy, and you have to understand that you don't have consistent energy. And that goes with even sex. You're not going to be on all the time. You're not going to be off all the time. When you're not feeling like it, that could change tomorrow. right? So it's understanding that you don't have energy to use, you have energy that you borrow. So what that looks like is take more naps. You're meant to work 4 hours at a time. You're meant to like not really be busy. Passive income is your best friend. Having a VA and delegating the crap that you don't enjoy, you don't have the energy for half the things that you do. Now, in our society, everybody, 70% of the world is go, go, go. Check in with yourself. Do you have the energy for that? Like if you just work 10 hours and I was like, girl, let's go drinking and then we're going to go running in the morning. Do you have the energy for that? Or are you just trying to be nice because you love me? Right? Check in with yourself. You don't have it. It's a given. So what this leads to is like adrenal fatigue or like an autoimmune disease or like aging before your time because you're running around trying to keep up and you just can't. Right? So this is giving you permission to say, I don't want to go out. I want to stay in my bed tonight. Now the spleen located right here. This is like fear, intuition, time, and well-being. So this tells me you are deeply intuitive. You're not afraid of anything, believe it or not. Time is not really real for you because imagine coming to Earth with a design where you're supposed to take your time. We don't need to worry about time, right? The thing about the spleen is that because you're around people, you are feeling everything they're feeling times 10. So just like you're really tuned in to like, they're not feeling that great, or wow, like a download can just drop into your head. Like, I don't know if any of you are spiritual, I'm just throwing it in there, like a message or something that just intuitively popped in your head and you said it and then somebody started crying. You are very intuitively tapped in. But you're also amplifying fear. And not only that, but sometimes you get attached to people because they make you feel good, right? You're like, oh, I love spending time with Bob. Bob is so great. And then you become codependent. So alone time for you, my loves, so necessary. Disconnect from people from time to time. Go take like a silent retreat or like, I'm going to spend the night alone tonight so that you can remember what you feel like and actually notice, is Bob actually making me happy or am I just afraid of being alone? Does that make sense? Beautiful. Now, emotional solar plexus located right here, just like it says, emotional. So if you are taking in emotions from everybody else, you, my love, are an empath. You take in emotions and you feel them times 10. So it can be one of two things. Wow, I'm really wise at reading people. I can tell when they're happy. I can tell when they're sad. I can help them. Or your emotions are all over the place because you're just taking it all in and you're like, I feel guilty and shame and angry, and none of it belongs to you. When you're alone, you don't feel any of that. You're just like, did I have lunch today? Or like, hey, I feel like painting. But when you're around other people, you get lost in the sauce. So it can look like social anxiety or like manic behavior. So mental illness is really common for reflectors. And all it is you are too much peopling. You need a break from people. It's okay to do that. The last piece, the root, which we talked about, a pressure center. This is adrenals, estress, not stress. Stress is the ability to just turn things on. Like stress gets really heavy and it just gets you started. It's like that initial spark. It's like if this was a car, this is the gas pedal, but it only turns on when you're driving. When you're not driving, it doesn't. So no consistency. So what this tells me is you're not supposed to be feeling stressed. If you're living your life like, I'm running out of time, I need to do all the things, you are picking that up from somebody around you. If you're stressed about money, who around you is stressed about money that you're thinking that's you? Because when you're happy and you're just surprised, money just shows up. Clients just come in. Things just work out. But when you're trying to do all the things and you're like, FOMO, not you. Disconnect. Okay? So I know this was a lot. I know, and I'm excited for questions. But let me hit one more thing. For you guys, we talked about sleep. The best advice I can give my reflectors, just because you are completely open, for about an hour before you actually fall asleep, you want to lay horizontal. Why? Because if you imagine that it's an open bucket, when you turn it on the side, it can drain all the crap from everybody else. So laying horizontal, even if you're on your phone, which I recommend you don't, just like lay on your bed, you're gonna feel the stress of the day just leave. Now, if you're with your partner and they're talking and you're watching TV and you're doing all the things, you might not be turning it off. But if you can, like, if you're feeling really drained, just lay horizontal. After about 30 minutes, you're gonna feel a huge difference. Grounding is super big for you too. Lay down, you'll feel it, you'll relax. Your health, being this open, taking everything from everyone, like your body is not designed to handle stress or overthinking or a lot of emotions or a lot of energy. But you're sitting here trying to process that for everybody times 10. It kills your body. It breaks you down. So your health thrives when you are around the right people, around the right place, and when you are taking care of yourself. If you have a reading, I'll go even deeper to tell you about your environment. Because some people are homebodies, some people recharge with people, some people like big groups, but we don't know that till we look at your chart. Okay, so your health, very, very important to like understand that if you're declining, maybe you're not in the right place. Maybe these are not the right people, and we need to kind of tweak some stuff because your health can improve like that when you're rested, when you're sleeping, when you feel good. Another thing, exercising is great for most people, and you should if you want to move your body and take a walk. But if you're pushing yourself in the gym for an hour, Pilates or lifting weights, it's not you. You don't need to do that. Yoga, soft, light walking, that's more your vibe. So if you're trying to like work on your body, don't push yourself super hard. 20 minutes, being consistent over a period of time does the same thing that working out for an hour does every 3 days. Just 20 minutes at a time, super soft, like your body needs slow, truly. One more thing, consistency and structure, that is the only way for you to survive. So if you don't have it, get you a friend who will get you aligned. Because you need consistency, you need a plan, you need to know what do I actually want to accomplish and make sure that you're checking in if you're facing the right way, right? Another thing, being so open, change is terrifying. Because if you need routine and you thrive on it and somebody's like, okay, new city, new schedule, it brings up a lot of fear, right? So when you're going through change, who are your people? Who grounds you? And I told this to Nishta, but I'll say it for the ladies in the room. Find you somebody who grounds you. If you're in a room and you're really, really overwhelmed, focus on someone who makes you feel really good. Like this is something Nishta does with me. Like if there's a lot of emotion in a room, I tell her, look at me. You know why? Because it doesn't matter what's going on around me. I do a lot of work to stay calm and to stay grounded. So when she focuses on me and my energy, that's what she's amplifying. But if she's trying to be all over for everybody, it's almost consuming her. So find a grounding force, whether that's your partner, a friend, like when you're overwhelmed, you need people. That's it. And journaling, you want to keep track of your day-to-day so that you can see the changes and just kind of be aware. And I know that was a lot. So we're going to open for Q&A, but before I do, for the recording, if you are interested in a reading, I will drop the link here, but there is a bundle if you want to do the foundational with a business, or if you just want the foundational reading, here's also the link. For the people that are attending live, I will tell you about it and drop it in the chat. But for the ones on the recording, I hope today served you and that this gave you a little bit of clarity. Looking forward to meeting you. Okay, ladies, let me stop the recording.